We are going for a little adventure today. This is the first time that we're going to be taking the Rivian up to Cameron Pass, and we wanted to kind of see what happens to the battery and the range and kind of how all this stuff goes. This is kind of like an FAQ. So why don't we charge to 100% all the time? It ended up being that it actually was gauging for elevation. So that is very cool. It is gorgeous out today.
Yeah. This is from the top of the pass down to the trailhead. So it looks like the computer max is out at 4 miles per kilowatt hour as overall efficiency. So we're 70 miles. We're still averaging 4 miles per kilowatt hour. That's awesome.
Hey everyone.
Good morning.
We are going for a little adventure today. This is the first time that we're going to be taking the Rivian up to Cameron Pass, and we wanted to kind of see what happens to the battery and the range and kind of how all this stuff goes. So we decided to charge to 82%.
Right now it's 37 degrees out.
And so we've got 266 miles of range. And so Justin's actually going to plug in the address here.
We preconditioned the cabin for about 5 minutes as well. So I ran the seat warmers in the cabin. So we brought the interior temperature up before we disconnected from the house. Mm-hmm. So let's see how far it is. So here, swing the camera around.
All right, so he's going to plug in Cameron Pass.
So it's showing 71 miles, hour and 53 minutes, 152 miles of range on arrival. So that'll be interesting to see if it's calculating for all this elevation gain, because I don't know
if it's just the distance.
Yeah, exactly how that works. So, and that may have been covered in other videos elsewhere, but this is going to be our first-hand experience for the first time doing such a mountainous drive. We've done a bunch of drives along the Front Range, down to Denver and back, Fort Collins, Denver, a lot of those. Yep. So first big mountain drive, followed shortly hereafter by a trip up to Summit County. So here we go. Let's go check it out. Let's see what happens. So we're at 82% state of charge. High battery regen is reduced due to the relatively high state of charge. So let's go get it.
So I'll just say something about the regen here. That's actually been something I was really surprised about, was that when the battery is more full, that the high regen doesn't like kick on as much. And so it like, you weren't anticipating that, were you? No, and I got a little nervous a couple times because I took my foot off the accelerator, was expecting it to be like a harder stop, like when it's lower. And then it's like, the vehicle's not stopping, like what's going on? And then like applied the brake and it was fine. But I just there's just like these little nuances that are not a big deal once you know about them, but I just didn't have any idea. So you
weren't as much of an EV geek as I was. So here it's like I've done a lot of research, understood it a bit more compared to you, where you're like, okay, here's the car, great.
I'm glad that you've taken one for the team to learn a little bit more about that. I think we talked about in another video though, but I'm somebody who I like to learn these things when I can directly apply them, and so. But then I've had some kind of like weird, like, why is it doing this? And almost saying, Justin, I think something's kind of wrong with the truck. And he's like, no, this is normal. So.
But it's a new normal.
It's a new normal. But for
switching
those
over
of you,
from an ICE car to an EV.
Yeah.
There's a lot of new normals here.
Yeah. And so I guess for anybody else, I just wanted to mention that, because if you are a novice like me and really didn't know that much about EVs, you might have also had that experience, or you might be curious about that, and so now maybe you'll know ahead of time instead of having to a little bit of a freak out moment.
Oh, you freaked out?
Well, not that's exaggeration.
You mean just because they had to get on the brake, and we rarely use the brakes now?
Yeah, I just felt like the vehicle wasn't responding the way that I had gotten used to it, because we've been driving around with not as much battery charge, and so it just was unexpected.
We're typically driving around with less than 70% state of charge.
Yeah, thanks for the specifics.
We've done a couple charges to 85%. We have yet to do a full 100% charge.
Yeah. So, and that was another thing that I really didn't know anything about. Well, not, I should say nothing, but don't know a lot about, like, why you don't charge to 100%. I can't remember. Did we chat about this before?
Have I chatted to you about it?
No, I mean, have we had this conversation with the camera? So, but will you explain that again? Why? Because actually, I've had several people like ask about that. So it's kind of like an FAQ. So why don't we charge to 100% all the time?
It helps to extend the life of the battery pack, being that we have a NMC battery pack.
What does NMC mean?
NMC, nickel, manganese, cobalt. So lithium,
for us who don't know,
lithium ion, NMC batteries. They're currently the most common battery packs.
Okay.
And you can charge to 100% all the time, and you'll just reduce the life of your battery pack. So even within the current warranty that is offered from Rivian and many other manufacturers that use the same chemistry, you have a great life with the battery, but it's been found to extend the life of the battery pack if you don't do 100% charge every time. Okay. Just like your cell phone. Like, I mean, if your cell phone, there's different battery pack management softwares and thermal management capabilities within the truck that aren't within your phone, but comparing to your phone, for example, smaller NMC battery, but most people will typically fully charge it every day, and which mimics
what I used to do all the time.
Yeah, and you probably still do
I do
to an
some
extent.
of the time, yeah.
Little lane assist here, not letting me turn.
I've loved the lane assist, but it does sometimes, like, yeah.
Anyway, in that, we could do the calculations here, but I'm driving. But you could do the calculations. Say you have a phone, say you typically trade in your phone every 2 or 3 years. Mm-hmm. Say you have 3 years of charging your phone 100% every night. That would be the equivalent of doing 100% charge here on the truck every day. So 365 times 3, so say like 1,000 charges roughly. We have over 300 miles of range. So say we did a full charge every day or every time to 100%, we'd be looking at like a 300,000 mile range. And at that point, we'd probably have about 70% degradation on the battery.
70%.
Yeah, so then
that's really significant.
Yeah, that's pretty significant.
Okay.
And that's pretty typical for for phone usage, planned obsolescence and all, and just typical upgrades in phones. Yeah. So we would exceed the warranty period that Rivian offers at that point, because we've gone, I forget exactly what it is, it's like 7 or 10 years and 150,000 miles. So we'd be well beyond outside their warranty at that point. But that would also be 300,000 miles of driving, which is
a lot.
Pretty significant.
Yeah.
ICE cars right now, sure, there's the examples that go over 200 or 300, but they're pretty rare. We'd have to drive a lot. We have to drive 30,000 miles a year for 10 years to get to that.
Yeah.
So anyway, in that, if you do 70 to 85% charges more often, you would likely not have 70% battery degradation by the point you hit 300,000 miles. So you can still get the 300,000 miles with the truck, but you might have like 80% or 90% battery degradation at that point.
Okay, cool. So, thanks for explaining that.
Just a way to kind of compare it to something that, everybody's already using a phone every day in their life. Not that you shouldn't, not that I'm saying don't charge that to 100%, but
it's something
it's just something
we're more familiar with.
You can kind of compare, that's, if I use my electric vehicle the way I do my battery and my phone, then this is what would happen.
Yeah.
Even though the thermal management that's within this truck and many other EVs is well beyond what's in the phone. Most phones don't have really any battery management thermal management capabilities. You know, the battery pack will get really hot when you're charging with like a 40-watt charger, and you know, bakes in the sun if you're in your car, and so there's not really any controlling of the temperature.
Okay.
So there's, you know, these cells within the truck are actually going to last longer just due to the thermal management built in. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was cool. Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, we'll cut here, and then we will show you some of our amazing drive up to the Cameron Pass as we get into the pretty part. All right.
Right, we just made the turn at Ted's place, heading up the Poudre Canyon. About to enter the canyon right ahead.
It's like such a gorgeous day today. It's going to be about 60 degrees here in town, and I did ask Justin why we were leaving because it's been so cold lately. It was like, this feels a little bit crazy to be going up into the cold, but I am super stoked to see some mountains today.
Oh, here they are, right ahead.
I know. Well,
you mean the snow-capped peaks?
Yep. This road is just so pretty here, just along the river the whole time. I love it.
It's so pretty. A beautiful place in the world.
Yeah. It's pretty amazing. In about an hour, we're going to be in snow. Anyway, we are going snowshoeing, so we're hoping that there's some snow. Although it might be
You'll need to hope there is snow.
Well, yeah, there is. Of course there is. But I guess what we aren't sure is if there's going to be enough snow that we're going to need snowshoes. Or
Yeah, we might just be
walk in our boots. A couple of things that we thought we should mention is some of the general settings that we're on, since we're talking about the range and how the elevation and all of that and cold might be impacting it. So we're in all-purpose. Obviously, we know if we drop down to conserve, it would get us even further, but we like the function of the all-purpose and want to see how it would perform with that. We've got the high gen for the braking, standard height.
We started in standard, but I've just remembered the top of
Oh, correct. But it's currently has us in standard. What does the auto do? It's just whatever's going to get the best, most efficient. Okay.
So I think it'll basically keep it standard for drives like this with 40 through the curves, and then when we're on the highway, it's going to drop us down below.
Okay, makes sense.
That's what I've seen. Is it's mostly between standard and I don't know that it's going to go the lowest. It's going to be a sport mode setting. I guess if we really start ripping, it might go ahead and move us to the lowest. Let's see. But we're not going to do that. It's a hot dog.
There are consequences for that.
So we just passed the mesh.
This is one of the most beautiful parts of this drive. The canyon gets kind of narrow. To the top, we figured we'd actually go all the way up here, even though we're going to be snowshoeing a little
Our
ways
trailhead's
down.
a few miles back, but look at this, 151, actually just changed 150 miles of range. So the trip calculation was exactly spot on.
Well, off by 2 miles, and that's it.
Was it 152 or 151?
152, I thought.
Okay, it was 151. All right, yeah, so basically right there. So we did start trip A I forgot to start when we left the house. We probably started about 5 minutes into the trip, so we missed all the around town driving. So we averaged $1.53 per kilowatt hour.
So we did
confirm.
confirm.
I did do trip B. Once we got to the real steep inclines, probably the last 10 or 12 miles of the drive up the hill here, I started trip B. So you can see our efficiency here is 0.99 miles per kilowatt hour. So during the last 10, 12 miles of the trip. Oh, there it is, 10.9 miles. That was a good guess.
So we did confirm that when we put in Cameron Pass as our destination, and it was saying that our estimated range was around between 151 and 152, whichever it ended up being, that it actually was gauging for elevation. So that is very cool, and I think just like helps with the overall confidence of like, it says you're gonna get there.
Yeah.
You're gonna get there.
Yeah.
Good job, Rivian.
Good job,
I
Rivian.
appreciate that.
Awesome trip calculator.
I'm just gonna show you guys this view. It is so gorgeous. It is an insanely beautiful day, a little windy, but we're gonna be in the trees and hopefully not get whipped around too much. All right, let's get back to our trailhead.
All right, I'm gonna pull a U-turn here.
A good like 4.5 feet of snow here on the side of the road. A little higher in some places, drifting.
So we just drove from Cameron Pass to Blue Lake, 4.6 miles. And we actually gained 1 mile of range in that time period. And we averaged 4 miles per kilowatt hour, which is very efficient for a Rivian. Cool, that's it. That's all I have to say about that.
That's all I have to say about that.
Mm-hmm. What's Rio have to say?
He has to say, I feel nauseous. Let's get this pup dog out of this car.
Yeah.
You ready for the fun part?
Let's go
Rio.
Let's do it.
Okay, come here, good boy. Rio, come. Rio, come. Come on. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Gorgeous out today.
Yeah.
It's like really warmed up.
We're in the middle of the burn area. The Cameron fire.
Yes, this obviously
you
looks...
see Chambers Lake through the trees. A lot of burnt forest here. We just entered the burn area.
Yeah, it's always wild like how different these spaces used to look. It's kind of amazing that it's opened up so you can see so much, but obviously it's sad that this much burned.
Yeah.
Not that forest fires are inherently bad, they're actually important, but a lot of the forest management practices in the past have definitely not been ideal. So this is a pretty major burn here, but still pretty stunning.
Hey, buddy. It's pretty steep through here. Quite the angle. You really have to cut into the hillside.
Yeah, and the wind just keeps blowing it.
Look at these snowshoes. Let's look at the bottom of these. These things are gnarly.
They're pretty awesome.
Yeah. Nice. Okay, other leg. Gotta balance it out.
This hamster is not as flexible. All right, we finished up. I think we're thinking we went like 7 miles. We need to see our tracker. We're totally sure. And Rio did awesome.
2 hours and 30 minutes.
2 hours and 30 minutes. I think he forgave us for the nauseous car ride. He had so much fun. Yeah, it's awesome. Whew. Gonna have a little snack out of our frunk here before we head back down the mountain.
Got some gear in here. It's perfect. I love the frunk.
Yeah, we love it. We use it all the time. Yeah.
Grocery getter, gear getter, lunchbox getter.
All the things. Yeah. So amazing little hike.
Hey, so we just finished the hike. Let's take a look at our stats. So full trip so far, Fort Collins to Cameron Pass, down to the trailhead here. We're at 1.62 miles per kilowatt hour, 67 miles. Trip B, 4.6 miles. This is from the top of the pass down to the trailhead, 4 miles per kilowatt hour.
And we've got 151 miles of range.
151 miles,
and 47%. Yep.
So let's see where we are when we get back home. All right, just want to point something out here. We are halfway down the canyon. We're looking at our trip B since we were at the pass. We're at 4 miles per kilowatt hour. And then over here on the efficiency screen, so you can catch that. That's where we're doing curves here. It's just flatlining. There's no undulation to the bar chart. So it looks like the computer maxes out at 4 miles per kilowatt hour as overall efficiency. So we're exceeding that on this downhill descent. And so we haven't averaged out to less than 4 yet.
Yeah, super cool.
It'll be interesting to see how much driving we have to do once we get back on the highway before the average comes down off of 4. Did I say bar chart? This isn't a bar chart. It's a line chart.
It's a line chart.
It is a line chart. It looks like, who knows what it looks like right now, just a blob of green. But definitely not a bar chart.
I hope you all have been enjoying this drive as much as we have. It's just like colors have been insane. And looking out the window and then looking at the phone, it's like the colors that you're seeing are like dead on. Bluebird skies for sure. We got some clouds coming in. So it looks like it might get a little stormy.
Okay, so we are back at home. Let's look at a summary of our trip. So, trip A, total round trip, 133 miles. And we did start it a little late, so probably more like 138, 139. So overall, up to the pass and back, we averaged 2.44 miles per kilowatt hour. The return from the pass down to town, 70 miles. We're still averaging 4 miles per kilowatt hour. That's awesome. So there we go. We left with 82%. Let's see, what did we do? 133 plus about 4, so 138. So 138 miles from 82%. So let's see, what is that? 45, 47%. Nice. Cool. Awesome. Hopefully that helps out.